but they are the team that needed a 4th and 31 miracle. 4th and 31. And they had to score a touchdown on that play to beat a 6-6 Auburn team that got boat raced by New Mexico State at home. First up, we've got Penn State, Illinois. We're going to go through each of the games. Well, we got 3 games. First up, Penn State, Illinois. We got 5 minutes for each game.
Looking for some bigger prey. They're hungry for that bigger win, and this could be it. If they can take down Penn State. I said, nevertheless. Why did I say I said?
The former 3rd string, now 2nd string quarterback, and people on Twitter are talking. Should he be the starter now?
This is Michigan Chatter on Big Ten Team Rivalry. I am Cliff. With me, as always, is my co-host, Thunderfoot, the man taking finesse out of sports. Mac, how you doing, Mac?
This is getting hurtful.
I just remember when you used to play soccer, and rather than deacon the keeper, you would just nail them with the ball and take them and the ball and the keeper into the net, and make a goal.
I took the Michigan football philosophy of shooting goals in soccer. You just keep beating the keeper as hard as you can
until they can't take it anymore.
Until they just, I give, and then they move out of the way for you.
It works.
It works.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and sharing our love for football and being on Team Rivalry and subscribing. We've had a bunch of new subscribers lately. We thank you for that. Today on Michigan Chatter, we are talking about Michigan, obviously. Michigan has done it again. They have accomplished the Big Ten championship hat trick, if I can throw hockey into our metaphor, which means this season they have set a school record for consecutive 13-0 seasons. That's 2, but still, it's the first time they've ever had 2 13-0 seasons in a row. They've got 1,000 wins, which is more wins than any other team in college football history, past or present. They are the first Big Ten team to be Big Ten champions outright 3 years in a row. It's a great stat. I love that stat. We do have to remember that prior to the CFP and the BCS ranking system, they just sort of picked the national champions or the Big Ten champions. So that's why the 97 game is in dispute for Nebraska fans.
It's not in dispute. Nebraska lost. Michigan won. It's just actually Nebraska didn't lose anything, but Michigan won the national championship.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said the game that year. There was no game that year. They played their season and then a bowl game, and that was it. And Michigan and Nebraska never actually played that year.
But Michigan won it.
Next year, with the super conferences and expanded playoffs, we're looking at a whole new college football system, whole different. But for now, we just want to revel in Michigan's fantastic run over the last 3 years. Go Blue.
The final score, Jim Harbaugh. He doesn't want to get soaked. Look at him. He's still got some moves.
Go Blue.
Thank you very much. Now let's talk about that championship game and the upcoming game against Alabama. Mac, like I told you Saturday, we watched the game Saturday, obviously.
We did.
And what I saw in that game, and this is weird, I understand, because the game ended 26-0, but that did not look like the Michigan of the previous 12 games.
Yes,
it looked to me like
correct.
Michigan was struggling a little bit more against Iowa. They were having trouble moving the ball. Somebody reminded me that it was not. Somebody reminded me that it was not too unlike the Maryland game, but I felt like even the Maryland game was a little bit more definitive, I guess, which is crazy to say because they didn't win by 26 against Maryland, did they? No, I forgot to look up the score of that one.
34-28, right?
Yeah, I seem to remember it being a fairly close game. But, I mean, what did you think? What did you see in that game?
I mean, it was 26-0.
Right.
So you
So
know,
clearly they did something right.
yeah, I mean, I get that it's not, the 49 to nothing spanking that Michigan gave Michigan State, but Iowa has a really good defense and an
Yeah.
absolutely non-existent offense. Um, Penn State played Iowa on the road, or I'm sorry, Penn State played Iowa at home uh, earlier in the season and won that game 31-0. And that, didn't look
Yeah.
great for Iowa for sure. But then Michigan, you could argue, did an extremely similar thing with while running the most vanilla offense possible.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan didn't throw a downfield pass. Why? Because they didn't need to. Um, Michigan didn't break off a ton of runs. Why? Because Iowa's pretty good at stopping the run, but also Michigan did have a couple of runs. There was no reason to bring out the playbook when you know that your defense is going to shut down the opposing offense in the way that Michigan did. So, as much as it would have been really cool for Michigan to win 45 to nothing, you don't need to. Georgia had already lost at that point.
Yeah.
As long as you can maybe cover, maybe covering is the key aspect to this, is that Michigan won and covered the spread. But no matter what happens, as long as you don't lose, chances are you're going to be number one in the country the next week or the next day. So what does it matter?
Yeah, that's fair. The Maryland game was 31-24, so
Okay.
this was definitely a wider wider point margin.
Yeah.
Morgan had a steam with the seam. Savage Morgan, watch out! The freshman down the sideline. Morgan knocked out of bounds inside the 5.
It would be interesting to know if there was any planning that went into. They already knew that Alabama had won, so they thought they were going to play Florida State, although that would be really risky, because then you're
Mhm.
taking Florida State for granted, and that's when those teams come in and pull the upset.
ECU, yeah.
Right. Get
Yeah.
the old App State going again.
Yeah. I think, two things can be true at once. You can run a very vanilla offense, but no matter what kind of offense you run, you don't want to take 4 sacks. And
Yeah.
that's what concerned me the most were the sacks and the fact that, they gave up 4 of them. Like, I don't know if that's a season high. I'm pretty sure it is. Iowa is definitely a good team to do it against because, at least you can look at their defense and say they're world class, like they're extremely good. So of course you gave up 4 sacks.
Hmm.
But, even if Michigan was holding back, you don't want to do that. That kind of sucks. So the reason though I'm gonna kind of hang my hat on the fact that Michigan was probably playing really vanilla is because Michigan had played extremely vanilla for 10 of their 12 games throughout the regular season. I mean, maybe Maryland, they broke out a few plays. I can't really remember, but it was Ohio State and Penn State that they really opened the playbook to varying degrees. Because even
Yeah.
against Penn State, they broke off 30 some odd runs. You can't tell me that's like special.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that Michigan was holding back. Also, I think Iowa's got a really good defense.
Yeah. So then, looking forward, so now that we know, I can't speak to the whole controversy of Florida State being kept out of the playoffs for Alabama. I know that there's a whole lot of arguments on both sides, but nevertheless, this is the deck that has been set. These are the cards they've been dealt. Michigan is going to play Alabama at the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. I forgot to look up when's the last time Michigan's been to the Rose Bowl, but it doesn't necessarily matter because the Rose Bowl is not the granddaddy of all bowl games like it used to be. We all love the Rose Bowl, but it's not but it's essentially a collection of bowls now. Even the top, the big bowls, the big bowls,
The
even
big balls.
the major bowls, are all just sort of collected. It's not necessarily, uh, uh, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, Michigan's going to the Rose Bowl to play Alabama.
Mhm.
looking forward, early projections, what do you think? Can Michigan hold their own against Alabama, or is Alabama still, are they still the Titan they used to be, even given that they dropped to number 8 and had to beat number 1 just to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, so they're kind of an enigma, because they they were saying things like they got better throughout the season. They're not the same team that were tied 3-3 at the half against the University of Southern Florida. The Alabama Crimson Tide were tied 3-3 against the University of Southern Florida at the half. Okay, and they're saying they're not the same team, and I understand. I'm inclined to believe them because they did beat up LSU 42-28. LSU has a cruddy defense. They beat up Kentucky. Kentucky also has a cruddy defense. Here's where I'm not convinced. And I'm not about to go all, oh, Michigan's going to trash them. It's not even going to be a game, or Michigan can totally win
Right.
this. Michigan
Yeah.
can totally lose this. Alabama's still a really good team. Obviously, you have to be if you're going to beat Georgia.
Right.
But the problem is that Nick Saban is out, and I love me some Nick Saban. I love Nick Saban. All right, love the guy. But Nick Saban's out here saying they're not the same team that went 3-3 at halftime against South Florida. They only won that game 17-3, so whatever. But they are the team that needed a 4th and 31 miracle. 4th and 31. And they had to score a touchdown on that play to beat a 6-6 Auburn team that got boat raced by New Mexico State at home. So Alabama can be a good team, but you can't deny that there has been some serious question marks with this team all season long. You cannot tell me that Tennessee is that good of a win anymore. Arkansas is not really that good of a win. I understand Arkansas was at home. They won that game 24-21. Arkansas was unranked. That's not a good win. Auburn 27-24 in the Iron Bowl. I get it. Rivalry game. Auburn sucks, man. Like, there have been questions all season long about, has Georgia really played anybody, and is there anybody that can expose them if they did? Alabama did expose them, but now what you're saying is that you've got an Alabama team who has been questionable all season long, despite the fact that they keep winning. They're playing close games against bad teams. Now you're saying that this team beat another team that you kind of got to question their schedule and say, are they really that good, or have they played a really bad schedule? Michigan has like 5 different ways that they can win this game, and then also 5 different ways that they can lose this game. The fact that Alabama might be semi-fraudulent is one of the ways that Michigan can win this game, as long as Michigan does not get, the way that they do in bowl games, because they don't play very well in bowl games.
And he's up off the turf when that ball is jarred loose. That's an outstanding hit from Mikey Sainristil still.
But it will be interesting to see them at the Rose Bowl again, playing Alabama. That's going to be a classic game, I think.
Yeah, no matter what happens, it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
And Michigan is playing a team that can absolutely beat them, even if Michigan doesn't beat themselves. So what I don't want the narrative to be is, oh, here comes Michigan playing badly in another bowl game.
Right.
If they beat themselves, then fine. If Alabama just plays better, then it's because Alabama is a good team, guys. Like,
yep. And I don't know if it's, being a child of the 80s and always knowing that when Michigan goes to a bowl game, it's a 50-50. And I know Bo Schembechler had a losing record when it comes to bowl games. But I remember Bo Schembechler saying, or at least talking about the fact that he would rather, beat the guys in his own backyard than play a bowl game. Bo was not a big fan of bowl games, which I think probably speaks to the fact that he didn't really prep his guys to play in bowl games, which is why they lost them. But because of that, I still have this feeling of, I'm really excited that Michigan is going to a bowl game, but I'm not really worried about whether or not they win it.
yeah, because they don't.
Because it's honestly, and I know this sounds weird, but it's honestly never really mattered to me. What matters to me, what's more important to me, is that 13-0, that beating every Big Ten team 3 years in a row. Well, not 3 years in a row because they lost to Michigan State that first year, but the fact that they've just trashed the Big Ten, that's the record that's important to me. But I know football is not a regional sport. College football is not a regional sport anymore. It's a national sport. So I do hope that they win the Rose Bowl. I hope they win the national championship. But for me, this is already a complete season. 13-0, 2 years in a row is just phenomenal. And I haven't been this excited about Michigan football since I was a kid. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the same thing. Like just seeing them play in the Rose Bowl is a treat by itself.
Right.
So if they win it, that'll be the cherry on top. And then if we get a national championship out of this, I'm going to be unbearable.
That'll be
I'm going to
crazy.
be an absolutely unbearable human being for the following 5-6 months that we're in the off season.
Yep.
But I'll say this though, if Michigan beats Alabama, then Michigan's winning the national championship because neither of Texas or Washington are as good as Alabama.
Yeah, that's what it would seem like. Yeah, given that Alabama just beat Georgia. So it'll be wild. It'll be crazy. We'll have our predictions for that probably the week before the game rather than right now, just to see how things shake out. If we lose any more if we lose any players. Michigan hasn't lost anybody in the transfer portal yet, I believe.
Nope.
Yeah, Alabama has lost 2, so things could change a little bit between now and then.
Corum was not had much room all night here inside the 10. Great jump cut to the left side, and there's his 55th touchdown.
Anything else you want to add to that?
No, that was it.
All right. To everybody who made it through the video this far, thank you very much. You are on Team Rivalry for making it this far, and we love you for that. I hope we earned your like and subscription. Let us know what you think about what we think in the comments, and don't forget to make football fun again. I know we've got 3 weeks to wait for any more football. The Northwestern game is December 23rd. So that'll be fun to watch. See if Northwestern can round out their season with a good win. Mac, take us out.
Northwestern, please beat Utah. That would be awesome for you. Also, this is Michigan Chatter on Team Rivalry.
There we go. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend watching football. Have fun watching football. Remember, #make football fun again. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. This is Big Ten Team Rivalry.